Hi, I'm Marc Stevens, author of Government Indicted and host of the No State Project on LRN.FM, and we're live every Saturday from 4 to 7 Eastern Standard Time. You can also hear it at markstevens.net. And what I want to, just quick intro to the latest edition of the No State Project's the Same Old Lie World Tour, and we're going to be stopping in Canada this time. I've done a lot of work in Canada this past week, so it's kind of it worked out. What we're talking about with the same old lie is that the lie is that if you're physically in Arizona, for example, then the laws of Arizona apply to you. Now, everyone I've asked agrees that that's the way they operate. That's not something I'm pulling out of thin air. I don't want to hear any stupid criticism that I'm an idiot. That's what people believe. That's why people. One of the reasons why people comply. That, well, I'm in Arizona. I have to comply. So if you listen to some of the other interviews that I've done, like with Alan Rodbell of the Scottsdale Police Department, he readily agreed to that. That's the way they operate. If you are physically in Arizona, then the laws of Arizona apply to you. And it's a lie because there's no actual evidence. There's not a shred of proof to prove that. And there's a Latin phrase for that. And what that is, and this is my Ballantyne's Law Dictionary. If you go to page 1354, it gives you this really nice. I need to get this printed up on shirts. It's a Latin phrase for the same old lie. That the law applies to you because you're physically in Arizona or physically in Ontario. Vox et praeterea nihil. It means voice and nothing more. That is, nothing but wind, just because you said so. Oh, Mark, it's the law. Because we said so. Oh, and comply or die. Comply or we will kill you in short order. But I'll get to, just in a moment, I want to discuss just briefly one of the reasons why I was actually in touch with the Attorney General's office. I was trying to kill two birds with one stone, help somebody with a tax issue because the CRA is a bunch of psychopaths, and also get something for the Same Old Lie World Tour to show people that it is just a lie, that there is no government, there are no citizens, nations, it's just people, and the claim that the law applies to you just because you're in a physical location, it's complete nonsense. It's absolutely false, demonstrably false. So I was talking to a Corrine with the CRA. Now the CRA is the Canadian equivalent of the terrorist organization, the American terrorist organization called the Internal Revenue Service, and what they do is they forcibly take people's property. There's no consent. You either give it up, or they will take it by force or kill you in the process. And it could also put you in jail and just take all your stuff anyway. Along the way, they'll destroy your life. They'll seize bank accounts. You'll lose your job. And anyway, her name was Corrine. And it's important not only to demonstrate the mindset of this one particular agent, but they're all like this. And you want to take this and put this in context. And remember what this woman said to me when I tell you what the spokesman for the Toronto, or the Ontario Attorney General's office told me. This is the Attorney General, which is the highest law enforcement in the province. Keep that in mind when you hear the call of shame when we talk about that, when we talk about what he actually said. Okay, now I describe this as antisocial because antisocial personality has to do with a lack of empathy, a massive ego, incessant lying. Okay, they just don't care. You're not human to them. You're not on the same level. You're not on the same level playing field. Okay. We are filth. We are just animals to be farmed. And this is the mindset. This is evidence of that. And this was March 25th, 2014. I spoke to Corrine of the Canadian Revenue Agency. And this is what she said. She had already admitted several times that she had no evidence to prove the laws applied to the man I was working for. Okay, so they're going to be they're trying to take his property under the guise that the laws allow them to do that, but they have no evidence to prove the laws apply. This is what she said to me, because she's been going around to the agency trying to find other people to find this phantom evidence that critics of the No State Project and mine have never been able to produce. Not one fact. All these years, not one fact. So this is what she says to me. This is a direct quote. Even if we don't have evidence, we're not going to stop. I'm going to repeat that. Even if we don't have evidence, we're not going to stop. Now, if that doesn't strike you as at least criminal, let's give you maybe it's not psychopathic. It's definitely criminal. Even if we don't have evidence, we're not going to stop. Now, keeping that in mind, we'll talk about, and you'll get to hear the 5-minute phone call after this. You can make up your own mind. Keeping this mindset, and that's how they operate. They don't give a damn about evidence. They're just going to take from you and kill you in the process. These people, government. I left a message with Brendan Crowley, who is the spokesman for the Ontario Attorney General. Let him know that I'm a journalist, I do a radio show, I do a live broadcast, and wanted to ask some questions about the application of Canadian law. So he calls me back. Again, this is on Friday, March 28th. And he gets agreement with the initial lie. He's not agreeing that it's a lie, but he agrees that this is the way they operate. If you're physically in Canada, the Canadian laws apply to you, and the government has jurisdiction. He says, well, Mark, it's universal. It's universal. Because if I was in the United States law would apply to me. Okay, so we've got agreement. That's how they do business. If you're physically in Canada, the Canadian laws apply to you. Great. So it's basically, if X, then Y. If you're physically here, then the laws apply to you. I just wanted to know what evidence, if any, he had to prove that. And he feigns ignorance. He pretends he doesn't know what I mean, or that he doesn't understand the question. So let's break this down again. If X, then Y. He believes that as much as he believes in that the sun is going to come up. It's as certain to him as that if he throws something up, it will fall down. But when I ask him if he has any actual evidence to prove that if X, then Y, suddenly he doesn't understand. It's just a game. What he's doing is he's buying time to try to come up and formulate an answer, because he can't answer. He can't give me any evidence. He can't even say yes or no that he has evidence, because I'm just asking him, do you have any actual evidence? It's a yes or no question. Do you have evidence to prove if X, then Y? Right? So we go around a little bit, and he tries to give me this circular garbage. I got it right here. The code is applicable because the code is applicable. The reason why it's on a banner is because it's been said to me so many times. I've heard this garbage for 10 years. So I let him know that's not evidence. That's a logical fallacy. That's circular logic. Just telling me it's the law. Well, Mark, it's the law. That's not evidence. The question is, where's the evidence the law itself applies because I'm physically in Canada? By saying it's the law is circular. That's not evidence. So then he wants to end the phone call. Well, I understand. And I would have liked to explain to him that, like I mentioned before on Ballantyne's Law Dictionary, page 1354, vox et praetera nihil. It's voice and nothing more. So basically, like I wrote in Adventures of Legal Land, besides your say-so that the laws apply to me just because I'm physically in Toronto or Ontario, what evidence do you have to prove that? They got nothing. You got nothing but a lot of talk and a badge, and that's right on the money. So I say I want to, because I know the critics, they're going to say, well, you're not talking to the Attorney General or a deputy, you're actually talking to just the spokesman. I get that, but so I wanted to be able to set up an interview with the Attorney General or one of the deputies, and he said, no, I speak for the Attorney General. So, okay, so now you've got an objective record, the spokesman for the Attorney General of Ontario, completely unable to produce one fact to prove if X, then Y. That is, if you're physically in Ontario, then the laws absolutely, irrefutably apply to you. We have no evidence, but it's true. And you don't have to take it on faith, because we will shoot you in the process if you do not comply. So imagine that. They are so absolutely certain that their laws apply because your physical location, but they can't produce any evidence or explain to you the mechanism by which that is true. So you can't make it any simpler than if X, then Y. I can't make it any simpler than that. But if you disagree Oh, and I'm going to get in touch with the Attorney General directly, or one of the deputies myself, or we'll just have people who are reporters for the No State Project, ad hoc reporters, and journalists who could just go to one of their offices and ask them directly. We don't have to go through the through the spokesman. But as always, if you don't believe that it's vox et praetera nihil, that it's just wind, it's just their say-so, if you think there's actually evidence to prove if X, then Y, that if I'm physically in Phoenix, the laws of Arizona apply to me, you're more than welcome. I've been inviting people and critics and skeptics on for years. We're on LRN.FM every Saturday. It's the No State Project. I'll schedule you as a regular guest. We'll record it. We'll do it in any way. We'll give you the opportunity. I will give you a full 3-hour broadcast live, or on another network if you want, another show, a live broadcast to give you the opportunity to present your evidence. Because I got to tell you, if you can present evidence that the spokesman for the Attorney General's office could not provide, that the federal magistrate or a police chief, that none of these politicians can, please, I'll do whatever I have to clear my schedule to give the opportunity to present your evidence. But I'm not talking about this circular garbage. Well, Mark, it's the law. No, evidence to prove if I'm physically in Phoenix, then the laws of Arizona apply to me. So we're again, just you can contact me at markstevens.net, my website. The email is markstevens@mail.com. Hell, you can even Skype me at frankrizzle3. However we need to arrange this so that you can get your evidence public, I will do that. Hell, you can just do your own YouTube video as a response to this, but I'd love to have you to come on the show. Again, this has been another edition of the Same Old Lie World Tour. Yes, it is.
Hi, Mark. It's Brendan Crawley calling from the Ministry of the Attorney General in Toronto.
Oh, thanks for calling back, sir.
No problem.
Let me just write this down. Are you in Ontario?
Yes.
Oh, well, and I really thank you for calling back. Isn't it after 5 there?
Yeah, it's 5:15.
Wow. Okay, well, then I'll get straight to it. I do a radio show out of Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm very interested in speaking to the Attorney General or one of the deputies regarding the application of Canadian law.
In what sense?
The general sense. The generalization is that, and I speak to many Canadian bureaucrats and politicians, during the day. I deal a lot with the CRA. And the generalization is that if I am physically in Canada, then the entire body of Canadian law applies to me, and the government would have jurisdiction over me. For no other reason than I'm physically in Canada. And it's that particular generalization that drives the CRA, for example. Everything they do is based on the assumption that if you are physically in Toronto, our laws apply to you, and you will do what we say, or we will take your stuff and punish you severely. And it's that particular... I'm sorry.
The Canada Revenue Agency will do what again?
If you do not pay them what they demand of you, they will just take your stuff by force, writ of seizure, things like this, and possibly put you in jail.
I see. I work for the government of Ontario, the province.
Right.
And the Canada Revenue Agency is a federal agency, so I can't...
I get that. I'm just talking about the generalization. It's the generalization that if you're physically in Ontario, then the laws of Canada and Ontario apply to you. It's that particular generalization. I was just giving you an example of some of the people other people I've worked with and spoken with. Do you agree that if I am physically in Ontario, that the laws of Ontario and Canada would apply to me?
That's the same worldwide. If I'm in the United States, the laws of the United States apply to me, and the law of the state I'm in apply to me.
Oh, I know that's a generalization. In fact, I have on my website, I spoke to a federal magistrate a federal magistrate here in Phoenix. And, I know that's the generalization. My question is whether it's universal is not the issue for us today. The issue that I have is, do you have any actual evidence to prove that just because I'm physically in Ontario, then the laws of Ontario and Canada would apply to me?
That's true. Like, if you come to Canada, the laws of Canada apply to you.
But what evidence, if any, is there to actually prove that?
I don't understand your question.
Well, you have a generalization, you have a statement or an argument, and that is, if I am physically in Canada, then the laws of Canada apply. Now, is there anything besides your say-so that that's true? Is there any actual evidence that would prove that the Constitution and laws of Canada and then also of Ontario would apply to me just because I'm physically in Ontario?
Well, it's the law of Canada. It's the law of Ontario.
Well, that you say that. I understand we have the law. But what actually is the mechanism, or what facts would you use as proof that that is true?
I'm sorry. I'm not really getting this, Mark. And if you're asking about the Canada Revenue Agency again, that's federal.
No.
Do you have any other questions, Mark? I got to go.
That's pretty standard. Well, would I be able to speak to one of the actual attorneys?
No.
No? Why is that?
Oh, I'm the spokesperson for the ministry.
You're the spokesperson? Now, as the spokesperson, you have no evidence to actually back up the generalization or the argument that if I'm physically in Canada, that the laws of Canada apply.
It's not a generalization. It's the law. Mark, I got to go. I think I don't think you're really understanding it, and I'm not really understanding where you're coming from.
I'm asking you just a simple question about evidence, all right? I mean, you say that the laws apply to me because I'm physically in Canada. I just want to know what evidence there is, if any, and you just say it's the law, but that's circular. That's not really answering the question. If you don't have evidence, if you're not aware of any evidence, you can just tell me, Mark, I don't know.
Yeah. Mark, I got to go. Okay? Bye-bye.
All right, thank you.